I've been working on the tail of this for a few days. What I did, I put a T down in there, and this runs up here to my fill, and it runs to both shocks. And I got some push to fit fittings. They just kept leaking. Finally I JB welded one all together, and looks like I missed a couple places, but it leaked too. I about used this whole can of flat fix in it, and I had two of those. Both of them failed. I glued that one, it failed. So it just keeps messing me up. This time I got a brass compression fitting, and it's got little ferrules in it, and you tighten it up and it squishes good. So right now it's probably got about 30 pounds in it. It looks like it's raised up about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Any more than this and it gets too stiff. But lines are out of the way of everything. I tried it up and down, works good. I put some of that stuff in it. Flat fix, I don't got any leaks anywhere. I found my hose that was over there with my little baby air compressor. So it's got good new hose in it, and it's routed good. It's not hitting anything. I'll know tomorrow morning whether it's leaking or not, but that flat fix will fix it. The ones that push fittings that went into the airbags were fine. They never did leak. It was just that T there. So after about 3 or 4 days of messing with this, looks like I've got it pretty good. Just checking my heights here. Looks like I got about 11.5. And this one's about 10.5. So I think when I put these things together, I didn't get them quite centered or quite equal. I don't know what the fender's like. Fender's 11.5. Fender's 10 there. So it's a little higher on the right side than it is the left, but that's the way it goes. Won't be able to really see an inch, and it is what it is. At least they're both the same. One more thing here. After a couple days of trying to figure it out, I finally found a place to put the switch for this pump, and I can't see it. Anyway, I clamped it here on that cross member, and you can see a little piece of blue hose just running over there to that shock. So, and then I just ran hot wire to the battery, and we'll see what that pump's gonna do. So it's running, and when this backwards, I think. So the way it's set up now, if I let air out of it, it should turn it off. This switch is backwards. Fix a flat in here. See if we can get it out with this. Yeah, that's getting quite a bit out. So as you heard, the pump shut off there. So I got the switch in, I just have it in backwards. Rats. I clipped this switch here on top. I just put a spring on it there to keep it up. And I ran it down there to the tie rod end, and I waited till it was about where I wanted it, and bent the rod around and shut it off. It looks like it's about 60 pounds or so, but it should be pretty sensitive. See, the worse the bounce, it automatically puts air in it. We'll let it out here and see how long it takes to pick it up. Alright, that's all the way down. Of course, that's not the fastest pump in the world. And I need to mount this a lot better, of course. I'll put a couple screws in it and make a spring that goes down to the bottom so it won't bend my switch. Probably up to about 50 pounds right now. Got like 1 inch in the shock. And I'll mount this little pump in the trunk and hook good lines into it. There we go. And I'm about 1.5 inches over there. And I can easily adjust how much I want to put in it. I just stood on it. You see how long it takes to compensate for my weight. And now it's up about 1.5 inches. So that's pretty good right there. It's at a certain height, and let's try to I'm going to try to let it down. See where the pump turns on. It's kind of hard to do. Put that on there a little better. Maybe a minute from the time the compressor turned on until it shut off. And that's an unloaded car. I'm going to set in it and see if that changes it. Yep. I don't know how much amps we're pulling there. Oh, it's not going through the gauge. Well, that was 37 seconds. So if you put 2 people in it, it'll air up to that. Every time you put weight in it, it'll air it up to catch the weight. So I think that's a fairly good solution. The air compressor is not very loud, and especially if I mount it back here in the trunk with the motor running, you couldn't possibly hear it. So I'll finalize my wiring, and I'll fix it so it'll only work when the key's on. In case if I blow a line or something, it won't run all night. So what I was thinking is I need to get another good T like that, and I can put the compressor permanently on one of these fittings and mount that all underneath. And then this one here, as if the compressor goes dead, I can still air it up with air. I don't know how well this little cheap plastic fitting is going to hold air. I guess what I'll do is just let it set overnight and see how much it loses. Probably if I get it where it's not being moved around, it'll probably last for a couple of years. Or I could get some kind of clamp set up right straight onto the line. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll let it sit overnight and see. You know, it's not leaking air now, but you know, who knows what'll happen. So anyway, that's my little automatic setup. I finally figured out how to hook that. I couldn't hardly figure out a way whenever I thought it was the other way around, but now I know that switch is normally closed, and so when you open it, it shuts it off. So I was thinking it was backwards, but now I got it mounted, and I'll mount it below that bar there so it's not sticking up into my floor. And I'll probably just reach up there with a welder and weld it on. A lot easier than trying to drill that 1/2-inch bar and put a tap in it. Well, here's my rig sorted out. I've got a brake light switch and a spring and a piece of welding rod and this loop down there to the axle shock mount. I've got all the wires run over here, and got one running up into the front of the cab for the power. this other side of the switch will go to my pump, so I'll figure out a way to put pump. Well, I got it all hooked up. I just have the ground of the pump stuck in the battery. I've got the main hot wire running to the nipple of it, and I pulled it off of dash light wiring there and just wired it straight in. So everything seems to be set. I should turn on the key and it'll start to pump up everything or blow a fuse. We'll see. Man, that's loud. I have to put that on something else. Yeah, I put it up here on the battery. Not too bad. But looks like it's up about, half an inch. From dead empty to full, it takes a while. Still haven't even pulled the slack out of my rod there. You can see it moving real slow. Up about an inch. Gotta do something about that noise, though. Well, I was going to see how loud it was in here, but it's obviously not. So it pumped it up. Got about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. Shut itself off. I'll try to figure out some way of mounting that so it's not quite so loud. And we'll just stand on it here and see what happens. No, have to bounce it a little. So that'll put another 1/2 inch in it. Probably just oil that stuff up. Anyway, now I gotta cut and splice my wires and mount that thing in all. Well, I put it on a piece of carpet, and the battery seemed to be the most stable without magnifying it. I just zip tied it to the battery cable. And quite a bit quieter than it was. I mean, you probably never hear it with the motor running. It's almost done. There it is. So it's very seldom ever going to run from completely empty. It's probably just a little bit of leaking. Yeah, it's not setting off the thing right now, but it all works. Well, I tried to figure out a way to put mirrors on here. These clamp style mirrors. There's not enough room here to put them on. I've got a lot of window channel and stuff, so I can't really screw anything into this. So this is what I came up with. This is a Volkswagen mirror, early one, and they screw down over a post. Now the mirror will fit. The mirror will fit, but there's a post that screws into it, and then it's a hinge pin. So what I decided to do, see, this is not very deep, so I got myself a couple metric bolts that are about 3 inches long. I can hook this up to the end here, and I can turn this bolt down to 1/4 inch, which is the size of my hinge pin, and put it in, and I can make hopefully I can make a good shaft. I've drilled a hole in here, I don't know, 1/4 inch or something. Hopefully it'll go over this pin, and we'll see how far this thing will go before it tightens. Well, it looks like these bolts are the wrong thread, but I was able to get it on there with the hole that I bored, and I've got the mirror tight, so I think that's good enough. It's not like it's got a lot of force on it, and I just kind of force those threads into there, but it's enough to tighten it up. Now the next thing that I got to do is turn this shaft down to 1/4 inch, and I'll put a jam nut on this thing. Hopefully that'll lock it in place. So I'll figure out exactly where I want to put all this stuff, put my jam nut on it. Well, it'll be at the bottom of the threads. So if I turn this little shaft, or the neck of the bolt, I'll be good. Just to get it through that hinge from the threads down. I'll just leave the rest of this sticking up. That's raising it up a little, which is kind of what I want there on the mirror. I put a little tape on here just to kind of see where the threads were going in. Looks like I got about 3 or 4 threads, almost 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna go with that. If I mess this bolt up, I can always cut those threads and re-drill it. Just keep trying to get it right. Now I'll flip it over and I'll turn this shoulder of the bolt. Well, I was able to use a punch and vice grips, and I got that pin knocked out. I'm pretty sure this was just a piece of 1/4 inch rod. I'll measure it, and I got this down to about 2,700 or something. So I'll probably take a 20 thousandths off. We'll measure it and see, and try to get this pin in. Well, this is turned down. It's a little smaller than the 25 thousandths on the bottom, and if you can see the ridge there, it's a little bigger than 25 right at the top, so that should hold into this top hinge. I put the bottom pin back in to try to line this up, and how about that? Went right in. Guess my machinist skills are all right. And I put 2 jam nuts on it here, so once I put the mirror on and get it tight, I can turn this pin to where I want it to go, and then I'll just put a single jam nut on it and lock it into the top of the hinge. So Now I can put my mirror on it. Well, there it's on with a lock nut. Of course, this lock nuts are not going to really do me any good because it's just going to pull the mirror out of the hinge. So what I need to do is turn about 3/8 of an inch more so the bottom sticks out, and then I need to put a nut on that so I can lock these two nuts together. So that's what I'll do, take it out, machine it off some more. Well, there it is. I got it, I made this about 20 thousandths too big, so I was able to pound it in there good. I can find some kind of a nut or glue something on there if I have to, but it's actually pretty solid and it's adjusted. I'll just cut that top one off. It looks a lot better, I think, than what it did before. Yeah, that's a lot better looking. Other than that, sticking out, it's nice and low. I can see out of the back real good. I thought it was going to make it look like a Volkswagen, but it's actually not bad. So I can get over here to my other bolt, since I know what I need to do, and start cutting it down. I JB welded my big bolt that holds this quick change post on here. I'll just have to go real slow with it and I'll be alright with that, I think. So I'll try to cut this bolt up and make it. Well, there we go without glare. This one I welded, but it took a little doing. I had to put a washer in it to get it clamp right. And this one's good. See out of them real well. So that's kind of it for the mirrors. We got a car show today. Looking Glass Brewery. I think I might just back this thing out of here and throw some water on it and cleaned up a little. Should be good to go.